Shalom, family. Shalom, family. All praises, glory, and honor goes to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Barakatah. This is your brother Eliezer here with from Bringitouttv. Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. We're doing a video on our brother Mike Malice, man. Mike Malice on a video he did on the Gentiles being grafted in, and he going in on Israelites that believe that Gentiles can be grafted in. So we gonna go over the text. We gonna go over his video, and but I will say this to Israel, man. I'm gonna say this to Israel real quick. I'm gonna say this to Israel, and Israel, you better take heed to this, right? Because no matter how upset you get, you are proving the text to be right. When you have envy or jealousy because the nations can be grafted in, you just got to understand what all that means, right? So let me give a real quick disclaimer, because the brother, he said some choice words to the brothers and sisters in Israel, and it's mighty funny that brothers don't get out here in these street corners and pound these streets, but they seem to use camp doctrine, right? So let me get a real quick precept in James. James 4:6 I want to grab real quick. This is the book of James 4 and verse 6, and it says, I'll start at verse 5. It says, but ye think that the scripture says in vain, the spirits that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy, but he give more grace, wherefore he says, God resist the proud, but give grace unto the humble. And so one thing about Israel, we are lacking empathy, right? And for you to have empathy, you gotta be soft or you gotta be weak, you know what I mean? But that's Christ walked with empathy all the time, man. But here in Israel, man, since we done came into this truth, we lack empathy and compassion one towards another. With that being said, Shalom. Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Barakatah. It's your brother Eliezer for the Maccabees. And we are here on Bringitouttv to bring out another banger, man. Getting in with our brother Mike Malice, a video he did about the Gentiles be grafted in. So we're going to try to bring more clarity to it. But we're going to listen to the brother videos as soon as the brothers start coming in. We're going to listen to the brother videos, and then we're going to exegete it through the scriptures, through the spirit of the Most High, through the Ruach HaKodesh. So I hope everybody's doing well, man. I hope the family's well. I hope that y'all in good health, man. So let me pull up the brother video. I want to get right to it. As soon as the brothers start coming in, we're going to get right into it. Shalaki, family. Shalaki. So let me share my screen. So, a disclaimer: Do we feel that it's an equal salvation? No. Do we feel that the kingdom come is for Israel current? All right, but we got to understand what this grafting is and grafting in is, because I came in this truth under HOI, under Peaceably, and under Joel, who's now over Sons of Thunder. That I left them with the CSI. And so we taught that salvation was only for Israel. But as we started, growing and maturing in the text, we realized that we see something else. And we're not just going to go precept upon precept, but we also go line upon line. So we seen something else in the text. So hold on for a second. Let me see if the brothers can get in. I'll put the link in. Shalaki. There you go. My bad, brother. And so we see something else in the text. So when you see something else in the text, regardless of what you was taught, you got to let God be true and every man a liar, and not dealing with emotions, right? Not dealing with our feelings, not dealing with pride, right? Because a lot of us deal with a lot of pride. That's why our brothers can call brothers, soft, or if you got tender feelings, right? Shalom, brother. If you got
Shalom,
tender feelings, and you're gonna hear the brothers using some choice words for brothers who believe that it's salvation for the nations, and we're gonna let the Bible speak for itself, right? It don't matter what I think, right? A brother Dion, a brother Phineas, a brother Michael, whoever joined the class, right? It don't matter what we think, right? It matters what thus saith the Lord, man. So, brother, if you will, Brother Bashar, shalom, brother Michael.
Hey, shalom, family.
Can you give me that Psalms 133 and verse 1, Brother Bashar? Let's start off with Psalms 133 and verse 1. Because over here we about unity, man. And we're not by separation. We're not by, because we have one position and they might have another position, we still are brothers in Christ. We still are part of one nation, no matter if we have different positions, right? So we got to learn how to respect one another's position. And if you disagree with a position, then straighten it out with the text, not with emotions, not with calling brothers out of their name, right? And so that's what I'm saying. We bring the hatred towards these nations right into Israel, and Israel lack empathy. We lack empathy one towards another, right? So let's get that in Psalms 133 and verse 1, Brother Bishop.
This is Psalms chapter 133 and verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded a blessing, even life forevermore. Selah.
Selah, man. So the scripture says, how good and how pleasant it is for brother to dwell in unity, man. In unity, man. So it's always a pleasure when we come together in unity, man. So all praise, glory, honor go to the Most High God, man. We're gonna deal with this Romans 11, man. But I'm gonna let the brother video play a little bit, and then we'll go into the text. Have y'all seen this video yet, brothers?
No.
Okay. What about you, brother Mike?
I have, bro.
Y'all familiar with him, Mike Malice?
Yeah, I am.
Are you familiar with him? Okay, okay.
Uh-huh.
What about you, brother Dion?
I've seen only one or two videos of him, so slightly familiar.
Okay, fine. So let's go into the video. Let's go into the grafted end, right? And we just gonna break it down point by point, right? And it's gonna be so we're gonna go ahead shalom to Shalisha, shalom. We're gonna break it down point by point, but I'm gonna let the brother get his chance and to be able to speak his piece, and then we'll go into the breakdown. All right, fair enough. Okay.
All right.
Family, damn it, we got something that we gotta handle tonight. And I'm gonna be very honest, I am so sick and tired of this false doctrine known as grafted in. And these are Israelites that are out there claiming that the other nations are able to get into the kingdom. Now, you may have said, you know what, Mike, how many times have we...
Shalakia. Fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use.
We've had this type of lesson before where you have shown us over and over in the scriptures where the Father said that the kingdom only belongs to Israel. It will only be the Israelites. But do you know what they use? Do you know what these lying, deceiving ass people use? They like to go to Romans chapter 11, verse 11. So let's go there. Family, please open your Bibles to the 1611 King James Version Bible with the Apocrypha, and let's go to Romans chapter 11, verse 11. And I'm going to show you exactly.
Now, he called the brothers liars, right? He called them liars and deceivers, right? And that's some harsh talk, right? Because of the simple fact that because brothers have a different position, right? So what do you think? Because if brothers have a different position, are they liars and deceivers?
No, some of them just Shalaki. I'll go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I'll say any one of y'all brothers is fine.
I was just gonna say, I don't think they're liars and deceivers. They just have learned a different doctrine. You know,
Right.
I mean, sometimes, rarely you'll see a person that come into the truth and sort of figure it out by himself, without listening to somebody else or being taught by somebody else. That's very rare, but it does happen. So either they've been taught by somebody else wrong, or they don't have the right understanding, but that don't make them a liar or deceiver.
Right. And that's my point, right? Like, why are we so vexed about brothers having different understanding, right? And why can't we, as men, sit down and go over the understanding? So that's harsh words, man, right? That's harsh words to call somebody a liar or a deceiver because they have a different understanding. Now, what I'm saying, Israel deal with emotions. We very emotion like women. We have women's emotions, women's tendencies, man. Right? And so that's what we do in Israel, man. We have women tendencies, man. Hold on, keep going.
Exactly how they try to maneuver the other nations into what the Father gave you. These people are sickening, absolutely sickening. All right, Romans chapter 11, verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid means no. But rather, through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. So now, the uneducated, the ignorant person would hear somebody within Israel say that and be like, oh, okay, well, it says it right there that the Gentiles are able to get in. But as you know from past lessons, as you know from the lesson that I have, Gentiles versus Gentiles, and also King Marcus has a lesson with Gentiles versus Gentiles. So they are saying that the Gentiles that this is speaking about are the other nations, the dogs, the pagan, the heathen. And they take little things like this. They'll take one scripture and they'll cherry pick that, use that scripture there, won't back it up or anything like that, and then lie to people and tell them that everybody's able to get into the kingdom because it says Gentiles. But as we already know, there are two types of Gentiles, the dogs, and then the Israelites that converted over to pagan practices. Follow the ways of the world versus follow the ways of the word. So, as you already know what we're going to do, so that there's no cherry picking, because nobody will ever be able to say that in this family, in a royal family, that we cherry pick. So, as y'all already know, I like to read the whole chapter. So that's what we're going to do. And we are going to see as to whether or not if this is referring to the dogs, pagans, heathens of the other nations, or if it's referring to Israel. All right. So again, family, please open the Bibles. We're going to stay in chapter 11. Go back to verse 1, please. And there will be some detours in this lesson here. So get.
All right, Schlock here. Just for a disclaimer, I'm going to let it get all the way back up to 11, and then we're going to start breaking it down. This is a long video, right? And we're going to start breaking it down through the text. Because what Israel, and you know what, I'm going to hold my peace, and I'm going to let y'all see if they saw.
Get ready. Have every writing utensil or device that you're going to use to take notes. You need to take notes, and you also need to open your book and read along. Only a fool will follow a man blindly. Okay? Romans chapter 11, verse 1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? We got to stop for a second. Possessive. What word is possessive? His. One more time. Now, mind you, this is Paul talking. The Apostle Paul. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Now, there's also something that I want you to realize. Do you realize how Paul did not say I'm a Hebrew Israelite? Paul did not say I'm a black Hebrew Israelite. He said I'm an Israelite. That's it. I am an Israelite. I need y'all to get out of those terms, Hebrew Israelite and black Hebrew Israelites. Why? Those are two terms that they consider to be hate.
See, that's semantics, right? That's semantics, man. You know, are we all? Is only thing Israel is called is Israelites? Is there other terms in the Bible that you find Israel in?
Oh yeah.
Right.
They've been called Jerusalem. They've been called Israel. They've been called Jerusalem, the house of, it's been called the house of Judah. Been called many names, but Hebrew Israelite is the basic terminology that describes us.
Right. Hebrew is the language, and Israelite is the nationality. Right. So that's semantics, right? That's semantics. We fight so hard against the power structure, but we don't understand that Yahweh Shah is our power structure. Hit that like button. Hit that like, brother Phineas. Come on. All right, let's see.
Groups. The Father never called us Hebrew Israelites. He never called us black Hebrew Israelites. He called us Israelites. Say Israelite and nothing else. Verse 2. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Why does it keep saying his people, his people, his people? Who are his people? His people are the Israelites. So from the very first verse, this is giving you the context of who this is talking about. His people, God's people, his chosen, the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm going to read verse 2 again. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew, meaning from the beginning. What ye not, what the scripture saith of Elias, speaking about Elijah, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed thy prophets and dig down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life. So Paul is making the connection back to Elias/Elijah when Elijah was speaking to the Israelites. Because Elijah is an Israelite. Paul is an Israelite. So this is talking about Israel, not other nations. Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Let's continue. Verse 4. What saith the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. That's very, very heavy. So first and foremost, as we already know, that number 7 is the perfect number of the Most High. That's his number. That's his signature number is 7. He said, I have 7,000 men, 7,000 righteous men did not bow to Baal. Why is this mentioning that?
Hey, Shalakia, that number 7, right? Where do you get that from, man? And I'm gonna tell you what's so funny about it, man. Is because you can tell it's all camp doctrine. All right, this all camp doctrine. All right, so the number 7, brother Phoenix, how many times? That's the number of completions, brother. How many times you heard that, brother? I'm not disagreeing with it, but you heard it before, brother?
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard it before. Heard it about a couple different numbers, and they use, they are powerful numbers, but I never seen the complete breakdown. It's just one of those things you told, and it sound good. Sound about right.
Sound about right. yeah, it sound about right. Let's keep going.
And Shalakia.
Go ahead.
You notice how he broke them other 2 verses down, the first 3 verses down with a little his own little interpretation, but he didn't say nothing about that they have killed thy prophets and digged down thy altars. You know, he didn't bring that part out.
Yeah.
But he did say he's talking about Israel. But he didn't, you know what I'm saying? He didn't go into detail, but he just smoothed right over that. But I
Yeah, it gets worse. It gets worse. Watch this.
Who is Baal? A god of the other nations. So there the separation is being made. Israel, nations.
Hey, Shalaka, y'all remember Baal because it's in the lesson. Remember the image Baal, right? Just remember that.
Nations, Israel. The separation is there. Verse 5. Even so then at this present time also there is a remnant according to the election of grace. So now y'all already know what that remnant is, right? We talked about it for at least the past 3 weeks. 2/3 versus 1/3. 1/3 versus 2/3. And you're going to see that here throughout this. Verse 6. And if by grace, then is it no more of works? Otherwise, grace is no more grace. But if it be of works, then is it no more grace? Otherwise, work is no more work. What is that saying? So in other words, Paul is making it very, very simple. Faith, works. They go hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. And he makes sure that he emphasizes this all throughout his writings. There is no faith without works. There's no works without faith. Who are the only ones that can have faith and put the work in? On the count of 3, let's all say it together. 1, 2, 3. Israel. Why? Because just as we talked about last week, the word was given unto Jacob. Remember when we read Psalms chapter 50, verse 16 and 18? And the father was like, wait a second, hold on, wait a minute. Now talking to the other nations, why is my word in your mouth? Why? You don't respect my words. You cast them behind you. You see that? But yet there's people who will sit there and say that all the nations can get in. Like, we're going to make sure we destroy that damn doctrine here tonight. Verse 7. Watch this. Please pay attention, family. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. 2/3, 1/3, 1/3, 2/3. What is it saying right here? What is it that Israel seeketh? The word, the laws, statutes, commandments. And there is that one remnant, that 1/3 that will find it over here. But the 2/3 will be blinded over here. 2/3.
Okay, Shalakia. Now I'm gonna start there, right? And you know, a lot of times Israel, what they do, they inflate the text, man. So you know, they act like this is a future prophecy, but it was actually something that was happening at the time, all right? And so he said that was 1/3, 2/3. Let's deal with that. One of y'all brothers give me John 15 and 16, and the other one give me John 12, 40 and 42. Let you know that's something that was happening, right? And we gonna really slow the text down and show you and put in a cultural context of what was happening during the time of Paul and what Paul was looking at. So let's get that in John 15 and 16 first.
I get to John 15. You got it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I got it. This book of John, chapter 15, verse 16.
Okay.
Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you.
Yeah, kind. So when you go into Romans, right quick, let me pull Romans up. You go to Romans 11. We'll start at verse 5. Even so then, at this present time, if there there is a remnant according to the election of grace. And then by grace, okay, let me go to that verse 7. What then? Israel have not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest were blinded. So he said the election had retained it. Now remember, when you go into the election, this is Christ. Remember, Christ said, I have chosen you, you haven't chosen me. So this election is the ones that Christ had chosen. Even when Paul, remember, Christ seen Paul coming going through the masses, and he knocked him off the butt. And he chose Paul. That election according to grace was the disciples in the first century. Now I'm gonna prove that, right? Give me that give me Matthew 13 and 10 real quick. Let's get that real quick. Because he said the rest was blinded, right? But let's get that election. You said at this present time, meaning at the time when Paul wrote this, he was talking about at that time. Sometimes we try to inflate it, talking about, yeah, that's right now. But watch, we're gonna keep reading. Watch the parallels that Paul was making. But go ahead and give me that around Matthew 13 and 10.
This is St. Matthew 13 and verse 10.
Okay.
And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parable? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he have. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive.
It's not perceived. Verse 7. What then Israel have not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it. That's why Peter was able to attain the wisdom and knowledge that Christ was saying, and the others way. Watch this. We're gonna keep going. Give me that in John 12 and verse 40. John 12, 40 through 42. Watch this. Gonna prove that point.
This is the book of John, chapter 12, verse 42. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers, also many believed on him, not because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. For they love the praise of men more than the praise of God. Jesus cried and said, He that believeth on me, believeth not on me, but on him that sent me.
Start at verse 40 through 42.
Verse 40. He hath blinded their eyes and hardened their heart, that they should not see with their eyes, nor understand with their heart, and be converted, and I should heal them.
Go ahead.
These things say Isaiah, when he saw his glory and spake of him. Nevertheless, among the priests rulers, also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. For they love the praise of men more than the praise of God. Jesus cried and said, He that believeth on me, believeth not on me, but on him that sent me. And he that seeth me said, Him that sent me. I am come a light unto the world, that whosoever believes on me should not abide in darkness.
And see that, and that's what was going on. So when you see right here, when you see verse 42, nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees did not confess him. So when he said that their eyes was darkened, right? Go to verse 40. He said he have blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts. Same thing Paul said. And we're going to get into Paul having the same issues with those non-believing Pharisees or non-believing elders, right? Because the elders and the Pharisees ran in different sects. They ran in different sects, right? But these particular elders believed on them, but The chief rulers believed on him, but the Pharisees did confess him. And that's why he say he blinded their eyes. And so when you get back in Romans 11 and verse 6, I think it is. That's what that's going into. Watch this. We're going to get into all of this. Watch this. Romans 11 and verse 7. What then? Israel had not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest was blinded. He said that's 2/3, but remember Christ said he came to save them. Right? Everybody might not see right then. So it's not the 2/3. It was at the time there was those non-Israelites that didn't believe or didn't confess him. We cannot say that's the 2/3 when the 2/3 have not been judged yet. Right? That's not a future prophecy. It was actually happening then. Right? So we're going to keep going. Just keep going. Y'all brothers got anything else? Brother Finish got a precept? Any of y'all brothers got a precept?
Nah, I just was I wanted to stop at that point, but it's kind of past it now. But he was talking about, but you going into it, but he was saying that the remnant that he used about all in the remnant, and we talked about the 7,000, and then now you changing. Now you saying it's the 1/3 and the 2/3.
Right.
So is the 1/3 7,000? Is that the 1/3? Or he's saying the 7,000 and 1/3 and 2/3, like Brother DeBar was trying to say from Sakari, the elect within the elect. Right. But I yield, man. It's just brothers all over the place, man.
It definitely is, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But we see during the first century where they was blinded. We see the Pharisees was blinded. Christ said they was blinded. The Most High had not blinded them. So how is that the 2/3? Is the 2/3 the Pharisees? All right, let's keep going. Y'all brothers got any precepts? Are y'all good?
I got a little precept under here. It's 1 Kings 19 and 18, but I just wanted to read it before I bring it out. It says, this 1 Kings 19 and 18, it says, "Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which have not kissed him." So that's paying that's going along the same lines, but it's definitely not talking about 1/3 or 2/3. So
yeah, Karen, that's like brother said, they all over the place. Let's go.
Of Israel. This is only talking about Israel. Let's continue. Verse 8. I need y'all to hear this. According as it is written. You see, so many people, they hear that and then they take it and throw it out. But do you know as it is written? Do you know what that means? Do you know what that signifies? In other words, that's the Most High saying, I wrote it, it's going to happen as it is written. The way that it is written is exactly how it is going to happen. Meaning, confirmation. It is stamped. Nothing else is going to happen other than what is written. Let's go. Verse 8. According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And that's about right now.
All right. And he said, let's talk about right now, right? And so let's get it. Let's get where it's written at, right? And so he said it, but he never went. I said, oh, he gonna do it. He gonna bring out that precept because it'll make it more clearer. Because remember, we just read in John that it was the Pharisees that didn't want to confess Christ, right? So let's get there. Let's get it where it's written at. Let's go to Isaiah 29:10. Isaiah 29:10, and let's see who this was talking about. Isaiah 29:10.
God. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 10. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and have closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, have he covered. And
Right.
the vision of
Go ahead.
and the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he said, I cannot, for it is sealed.
For it is sealed. Shalakia. So you see that when he said that as it says in Isaiah, it says, for the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, have closed your eyes, the prophets and your rulers, the seers, have he covered. So and then you go to verse 11, and the vision of all is becoming to you as the words of a book that is sealed. That's why the prophet, when you go back into John 12 and 40, and he was talking about these Pharisees that did not confess him because their eyes was sealed. They didn't understand the text. They didn't understand that Yahweh was that Lord, right? Why? Because that's the same thing Paul said, is your eyes will be closed as it says it, as it is written. This is where we're talking. This is what he was talking about. It was written in Isaiah 29 and verse 10 that the eyes will be closed. But what did it say? It said your rulers, the rulers, the seers, have he covered, right? Have he covered. That's why the vision of all is becoming to you as the book, a word of a book that is sealed. They couldn't understand the text, man. They couldn't understand it. The Pharisees couldn't understand it, man. That's why they didn't confess Christ. They didn't understand it. When Paul was out there teaching, they did not understand Paul. Why? Because their eyes was sealed. They was covered. They did not understand the text. So when Paul says it in here, let me get it again. So Paul said in verse 8, in Romans 11 and 8, according as it is written, God has given them. Who is the them? Who is the them? A spirit of slumber. Is that 2/3? 1/3? Who is this? The them. The same thing Christ was dealing with. And when you look at Paul's letters, he really dealt with just elders, man. It's very seldom that Paul was just dealing with everyday Joe, man. He was dealing with heads of states, man. It says, giving them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And I'm going to prove it in the next text, right? When David, and see who David had issues with. So this is talking about the rulers of Israel, the ruling class of Israel, not so much everyday Israelites, because the everyday Israelite was following leaders. They had leaders, they had heads. Like right now, we got camps and we got camp leaders, right? So it said, okay, that's verse 9. Somebody read verse 9 for me. Romans 11 and 9.
This is Romans 11 and 9. And David said, let their table be made of a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense upon them.
So David said, let their tables be made a snare and a trap. This is talking about the 2/3 of Israel? That's what the brother's saying. This is talking about the 2/3 of Israel. Let's get it in the precept. Let's go to Psalm 69 and read 22 and 23, but we're going to jump up and down Psalms, right? Psalms 69, start at 22 and 23.
God. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 69, verse 22. Let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Let their eyes be darkened, that they see not, and make their loins continue to shake.
Okay. So me and Brother Finney was having a conversation about Israel, and we were talking about how sometimes it could be an individual in Israel who could be in Israel, but I ain't talking about the collective body of Israel, right? So who is David talking to right here? He's saying, let their tables become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Who is David talking about? Is he talking about the 2/3 of Israel? Let's see. Let's start at verse 12. Psalm 69:12 through 18. Let's see who David's talking about.
God. In Psalm 69, verse 12. They that sit in the gate speak against me, and I was the son of the drunkards. But as for me, my prayer is unto thee, O Lord, in an acceptable time. O God, in the multitude of thy mercy, hear me. In the truth of thy salvation, deliver me out of the mire, and let me not sink. Let me be delivered from them that hate me, and out of the deep waters. Let not the water flood overflow me, neither let the deep swallow me up, and let not the pit shut her mouth upon me. Hear me, O Lord, for thy loving kindness is good. Turn unto me according to the multitude of thy tender mercies, and hide not thy face from thy servant, for I am in trouble. Hear me speedily. Draw nigh to my soul and redeem it. Deliver me because of my enemies.
He said, deliver me because of my enemies. Now, I know everybody be like, well, that's talking about the other nations. Let's see. Who do anybody know right here, verse 12, it says they that sit in the gate speak against me. Do y'all know what David was referring to? They that sit in the gate.
Leadership.
They that sit in the gate speak against me. Is that talking about other nations? Leadership, let's prove that. I'm going to get a couple of precepts right now. Right? Give me 1 Kings 22:10, Jeremiah 38:7, and Lamentation 5:14. Leadership. My enemies of my nation. All right. So let's see who they set in the gates. Just like the ones when you said that Elijah spoke against Israel, they killed all the prophets. Go ahead. My enemies. Go ahead.
This is 1 Kings chapter 13 and verse 10.
No, 22:10.
Oh, 22.
Okay.
What was the Lamentations precept?
Lamentations 5:14.
To Jeremiah 37.
Yeah, 38:7.
God. 38.
This is 1 Kings 22 and 10. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, sat each on his throne, having put on their robes, in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them.
Right. So they sat on their throne in the entrance of the gates of Samaria, right? So this is where the kings would sit on their throne in front of the gate. Watch this. Give me that in Jeremiah 38:7.
Book of Jeremiah, chapter 38, and verse 7. And when Abimelech, the Ethiopian, one of the eunuchs, which was in the king's house, heard that they had put Jeremiah in the dungeon, the king did then sitting in the gate of Benjamin.
The king then sitting where? In the gate of Bethlehem, right? So let's get that in Lamentations.
Lamentations 5:13.
5:14.
5:14, Shalaki. The elders have ceased from the gate, the young men from their music.
Okay. So it said the elders has ceased from the gate, and then that's why when you go into our favorite precept, Judah morning, the gates they are language. They are black into the gates was the leadership. It was the priests. It was the kings. Sometimes it's the king. That was our first line of defense. So this was the gate. So when he said they are at the gates, and he referenced them to be his enemies, it was a reason for that. Can somebody give me real quick? Can you give me that as 1 Samuel 20 and 25? 1 Samuel 20 and 25.
Go to that.
This is what David was facing. 1 Samuel 20 and 25. We're going to get back to Romans. I just want to prove and show y'all that this was really talking about leadership. It really wasn't talking about everyday Israel, man. It was talking about leadership, right? So let's get that in 1 Samuel 20 and 25.
This is 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 25.
Okay.
And it reads, and the king sat upon his seat, as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty.
Go ahead.
Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something had befallen him. He is not clean, surely he is not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today? And Jonathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem. And he said, let me go, I pray thee, for our family have a sacrifice in the city. And my mother, he hath commanded me to be there. And now, if I had found favor in thine eyes, let me get away, I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore he cometh not unto the king's table.
Go ahead.
Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan, and he said unto him, thou son of the perverse, rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion, and unto the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die.
He shall surely die. That's what David was facing. My enemies at me, man. The house of Saul, man, was at David's throat. This was David was running from the house of Saul, man. And so when you understand that when you look at these Psalms, man, a lot of times it was David in exile, man. David was fleeing for his life. David walked through the shadow of the valley of death. Why are you walking through the shadow of the valley of death? Saul was at his foot. Saul was trying to kill him and hunt him and slaughter him. My enemies. And sit in the gates. Right? That's why I put the kings to show you where the kings will be, where that table will be at. And that's what Saul was sitting at. Where's David at, man? He waiting on David. He done invited him to the dinner of death. He done invited him to the dinner of death, man. All right? So, y'all brothers got anything on that before we continue on, man? Got some more.
Shalaki, they that Amos 5:10, they hate of those that rebuke at the gate.
Yeah, that going up. Yeah. The water, brother. Yeah. The water. So let's get into some more.
The Most High said that there will indeed be Israelites that don't, there's 2/3 over here that don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're blind, dumb, and stupid, and they're ignorant. And guess who falls in that category? The very same Israelites that claim to be in the truth, but yet tell other people that they're able to get into the kingdom. Do you see how the Bible does not lie? Do you see how the Most High laid all of this out for us so that we can see it? So that when the time came, guess what we're going to do? We'll be able to recognize it when we see it. And it's happening right now all around us. Let's continue. Verse 9. And David saith, speaking of King David, here, Paul going back to the history, and David saith, let their table be made a snare and a trap, and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. So even all the way back then, David is saying, yo, listen, for them 2/3, for them niggas that want to do what they want to do, they don't want to.
See, he keep calling 2/3. This dude got like almost 47,000 subscribers, man. All right? But he keep calling them 2/3, man. But we just went into that history that wasn't talking about the 2/3. David was actually running from his own nation, man. Well, he was running from Saul. He wasn't running for all Israel. He was running from Saul, the king of Israel, man. So technically, I guess he was running from Israel. He was the king of Israel, but he was running for all Israel, not just 2/3 of Israel. Anybody who got their hand on David probably would have killed him. You know what I mean? You got something? Anyone y'all brothers got something? All right, let's keep going.
Want to keep the commandments? Let them fall into a trap. Let them fall into a snare. Because they don't matter. They don't matter. If they don't want to keep the commandments of the Most High, they don't matter. But over here, though, we're going to make sure that we take care of them over here, though. But for the 2/3, for them niggas that don't want to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments that the Most High God gave us, and you're going to find out why this is so important here in just a little bit. You're going to find that out. Let's continue. Verse 10. Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see, and bow down their back always, meaning always. So is Paul or David or anybody sitting there saying, yo, go over here and save these niggas? No. What are they saying? Father, deal with them. Take care of it. Let them be blind. Let them be dumb, stupid, ignorant. Let them be. But the 1/3 over here is remnant. That's where the focus should be. Just like we talked about last week. Stop wasting your time with stupid ass people. Stop wasting your time with sinners. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Let's continue. Right here, verse 11. Here it is. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather, through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy. So now, from verse 1 all the way down to verse 10, what was the context of those verses? Israel, 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 Israel. That is why we read everything. That is why we always read the whole chapter. That is why we do the things that we do so that nobody will be confused. This is talking about Israel. And then when you get to verse 11, if you have never read 1 through 10, somebody can take this and throw it out there and say that this is about the other nations. But 1 through 10 tells you this is about the Israelites. How simple can this be? But a lot of you fall for stuff like this. You know why? Because the Father told you, study to show myself approved, and you don't do it.
No. You see, I mean, it'd be hard to listen, watch these videos, man, because it's very milky, right? It's stuff that we was on when we first came into this truth, man, right? You know, that 1 Peter 2 and verse 2. Let me get it real quick. 1 Peter 2 and 2. When you first came into this truth, you know, this was all of us when we first came into this truth. It says, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. So, you know, we all with sincere, looking for that milk, so we can grow. And, but the Bible said, who do you teach knowledge, who do you let understand doctrine? Those that are weaned from the milk. But at some junction, you got to get weaned from the milk and drawn for the breast. But some of us, we try to take that breast with us wherever we go, man. So, with that being said, so the brother said, the jealousy. See, he didn't break down, he didn't go into the prophecies about the jealousy. Right? He said, he just went straight to the contents. The contents does not change, because it talked about have God cast away his people. God forbid. Then it went into Elijah saying that 7,000 men, they had killed all the prophets. And the Most High said, when he got 7,000 men who have not bowed their knees to Baal, right? Then he's talking about Israel going blind. So these are all in the same context, but you see different terminology within the context, right? And they're all the same speech pattern, right? So with that being said, let's get into that jealousy, because he didn't do it. But let's get into that jealousy, because let me read it again. I think I came off the Shalak here. Let me read it again. Romans real quick. Let me read it again, so it can be fresh on our minds. It says, verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come into the Gentiles. Watch this. For to provoke them to jealousy. Right? That's in the text. So, from their standpoint, Israel is coming in and making Israel jealous, and they go to that prodigy son, right? What?
Shalaki.
Go ahead.
Is he going to explain who's making who jealous?
I want to let him keep playing. Want me to let him keep playing, brother?
I want to hear what his answer is. Is he saying the 2/3, the 1/3 making the 2/3 jealous?
Watch this. I'm gonna let it play.
Study to show thyself approved. Do you see why the Father told us this? He said, you got to get in the book. You got to get in the book and read. You cannot take anybody's word for anything. This is why I tell y'all all the time, open the book and read along with me. Don't ever allow anybody to ever guide you without opening the book, because you'll have idiots that will sit here and tell you that the other nations are able to get into the kingdom. Oh, but we're just getting started. Oh, we're just getting started. I can't wait, baby. I can't wait. All right, let's continue. Verse 12. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world.
Okay. So,
he ain't do it.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it, man. He didn't do it. That's what I'm saying. This ain't nothing but fluff, bro. This ain't nothing but fluff. You read the comments, man, people loving it, man. They eating it up. But it ain't nothing but fluff. But let's get it in Deuteronomy 32 and 21. Because he said that to provoke them to jealousy. And you find the same thing in Romans 10. I think I got that one down too. Romans 10. But it's in Romans 10 and 20, I think it is as well. Romans 10 and 20. But yeah, let's get it. I do got it. Romans 10 and 19. But let's get Deuteronomy 32 and 21. Let's see the prophecy.
God. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 21.
Okay.
They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities. I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation.
With a foolish nation. And so, can I ask, when Moses wrote that declaration, was that to the southern kingdom in there in front of Moses when that was said?
That was the whole nation.
That was the whole nation of Israel, And he said that I will provoke you to jealousy with a foolish nation. So how is that Israel making Jews jealous when the Bible tells you that both of them was going to be jealous with a foolish nation? All right. This was talking about Southern and Northern Kingdom cohesiveness. It wasn't talking about them separate. All right. This was talking about I'm gonna make you, because did not Northern Kingdom went into idolatry? Of course they did. Did not Southern Kingdom go into idolatry? Of course they did. Why did they make God jealous? Why did we make God jealous? It's because we started worshiping idols.
God.
Come start worshiping idols. So this cannot be 2/3 or what? I mean, it can't be Southern and Northern Kingdom, because people try to say, well, that's Northern Kingdom, but Northern Kingdom wasn't even in the land at the time. Message, they wasn't there. So he could be talking to Northern Kingdom if they wasn't there. So let's go to Romans 10 and 19, and let's get Acts 13 and 42. We're gonna show you where that actually happened at. And this is why it's important when you read Paul's letters to start off in Acts, because Acts was the beginning of his ministry. So we're gonna see why Paul is dealing with this kind of is writing the letters to Rome with this type of speech pattern. Because you got to understand what he went through in Acts and who he was going through it with. It wasn't everyday Israel. It was elders. It was high priests. It was leaders who Paul was struggling with, man. So you get when he writes this epistle in Rome, it's because he just got through going through this in Acts. And we gonna get through it, right? So let's get that in Romans 10:19 real quick. Paul quoted it.
This is Romans chapter 10 and verse 19. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you.
Paul quoting the same thing, man.
God.
He's quoting the same thing. How can that be Northern Kingdom when he's telling you that he's going to provoke you to jealousy with a foolish nation because we went into idolatry? We went worshiping other gods. So he did the same thing to us. Brought us to jealousy with those that was not a people, because they didn't worship the most high God, man. They didn't worship the Most High like that, man. So guess what he did? He brought us to jealousy. Let's get that and let's prove it. Let's get that in Acts 13, 42 through 47. Let's see the Acts 13. Because this is what I'm saying. That's why we be saying, well, this is Northern Kingdom. But man, come on, man. If y'all believe in 2 Ezra 13 and 40, that in the land of Asterisk was a Northern Kingdom, he couldn't have been going to the north. There was a couple of them there, but for the most part, Northern Kingdom was out of there. They wasn't in Jerusalem and the surrounding areas for the most part during the first century. It wasn't there, man. All right, so let's go to let's get that real quick in Acts 13, 42 through 47.
God. It's the book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 42. And when the Jews were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath. And when the congregation was broken up, men of the Jews and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas.
Shlakia. Do anybody know what a proselyte is?
Convert.
A convert. A convert. All right, man, keep going.
And many religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who speaking to them persuaded them to continue in the grace of God. And the next Sabbath day came almost the whole city together to hear the word of God. And when the Jews saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy and spake against those things which were spoken by Paul, contradicting and blaspheming. Then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold and said, it was necessary that the word of God should first have been spoken to you. But seeing you put it from you and judge yourselves unworthy of everlasting life, lo, we turn to the Gentiles.
Shalakia, man. Why did he turn to the Gentiles? To provoke them to what? Jealousy. And when you see it right here, it says, on verse 45, but when the Jews saw the multitudes, they were filled with envy, man. Come on, man. You're making stuff up, man. They were filled with envy, man. They seen these uncircumcised Gentiles in there worshiping their God, man. What? Y'all gotta get circumcised, man. Y'all gotta do something, man. Y'all gotta do something, man. Y'all filthy heathens, man. Come on, man. We gotta understand the text, man. Brother Phoenix, I know you waiting to dive in, brother.
Nah, you hitting it on the head, man. But it's almost. I'll give you a new analogy. Okay, I wore out the toy thing. But it's another one for y'all. It's just like back in the day, man, we used to, back in our worldly days, and you break up with your girlfriend, and you want to be that first one to get you something new. To be the first one to have, you have a new chick that you dating, or she have a new dude that she dating. So the other one to get jealous, because if especially today with social media, if she post up or she makes certain posts showing she out to dinner, man, that joker probably at the house going crazy.
Yeah.
Who you at dinner with? He probably calling and everything. I yield them.
Hey man, bro, that girl don't look good until she on somebody else's arm, brother. Why she the finest thing since sliced bread, brother? You see it without a dude, boy. You be hating, brother. You start to hate, brother. But yeah, man, all praises, man. So when you so that provoked him to jealousy was talking about the Gentiles, man. Come on, man. And so we gonna keep getting it, but I just wanted to get it there. Let's start at verse 12, man. I think he was going to go to 12. Let me see. I think he was going to 12. Shalakia.
And the diminishing of them, the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness. Then right there, you see this verse 12 gives you tells you about the other Gentiles. So first and foremost, the riches of the world. Now we already know that our riches are stored where? Boom!
Now wait a minute. Now how do we get from? I mean, y'all help me out. How do we get from Northern Kingdom Gentiles, and now verse 12 is talking about the natural Gentile?
That's a cut.
Did he ever say Northern Kingdom?
No,
he didn't.
You just assuming that he had enough. He ain't even explain that. He ain't even picked a side. He ain't picked no. He ain't. He ain't described none of these people. He ain't described the 1/3, the 3/3, the 2/3, the 7,000, the darn the them who's, if the them who fell and the them who received the riches of the world. He ain't described these folks. He ain't told us who these folks are. They just Israel.
But he just cut himself. He just cut himself because he just said, now he didn't never make a distinction between 11 and 12, but now we are on talking about a different people. So if he don't make a distinction, if he don't, like, he go walk into it. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I yield.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, but see, that's what I'm saying. But anyway, let's keep going. Yeah, that's the problem with Israel, man. Is that it's this ain't never smoke and mirrors, man. Like we really doing this justice to the service. I mean, to the scriptures, man, to the text. We not really studying the word, man. We too busy looking at camp videos, man. Like Brother Feeney is like to say so eloquently, precept packages, man. All right. We just stay right down the line. But you see, the brother have not broke down that one scripture. He have not proved it in the text. Everything is all smoke and mirrors, man. All right.
In heaven. So that's still talking about Israel. The riches of the world. And then look at what it says next. And the diminishing of them, the riches of the Gentiles. So if this was talking about all inclusive, then there would be no separation. Now, would it? Would it? And the answer is no. Paul is making a declaration right there that these Israelites over here are trying to be like these damn Gentiles over here.
He didn't say that, man. The scripture says, down the fall of them be the riches of the world. Right? And the diminish of them, the riches of the Gentiles. Right? How much more?
Go sit down.
Right? So Paul he said Paul is making a separation and a declaration between two nations. No, he's making a point. And the point is to have they stumbled that they shall fall, God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation comes to Gentiles, or to provoke them to jealousy. And he's gonna come back a little further down and read why that's gonna happen, man. But I don't wanna let the cat in the bag up. I know Brother Phoenix just kind of came off mute, so I'm gonna let it get in, but it's something further down why Paul's saying what he's saying. Well, go ahead, Brother Phoenix. I heard you come off.
No, I'm just lost, man. I'm lost. I don't know. Like he said, he just jumped to these people that's acting like Gentiles. He never said anything about people acting like Gentiles until this very point.
To this very point, yeah.
Like, since I've been watching, now maybe before I came in, he was saying something about Gentiles, but since I've been watching, he said 2/3 and 1/3. And he never said nothing about, Hellenized Jews or Hellenized Israel to this point. And he said the people are getting jealous of these people that are Hellenized. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. I don't know, brother. I really don't know what the brother's stance is on that, man. Because like I say, the reason why I say Northern Kingdom because 90% of Israel believe that's Northern Kingdom. Right? It's just 10% that don't, but 90% of Israel believe that's Northern Kingdom, right? And so and I know he probably watched camp videos. So that's probably why I took that stance. But yeah, the brother really ain't making no strong points, right? And so verse 13 he says, verse 12. But come on, let's keep going. You finished, brother? Schlock, you finished?
Yeah. I'm out.
Okay.
The dogs. Separation right there. Verse 13. For I speak to you Gentiles, meaning the Israelites, you that have converted and followed their damn pagan practices. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify mine office, meaning that I am stepping to you and I'm gonna come to you bold and I'm gonna let you know that what you're doing is wrong. I'm coming over here to magnify my office, to come over here to help y'all obtain salvation by staying away from what's over here. So if anybody was able to, if everybody was able to get into the kingdom, then why is Paul making the separation? Because the Most High made the separation from the beginning and said that his people, just like we read earlier here in this chapter. I told y'all niggas gonna be mad. Oh, just wait until we get into the rest of the stuff, because I know there's so many of y'all out there. You mad about what I'm saying right now because what you done went and told everybody else, said that everybody else can get in. Now you got to go back and clean that up. Damn you. Verse 14. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh. My flesh.
All right, so let's look at the word emulation. I'm gonna come back to that, but let's look at that word emulation. Let me pull up this. Matter of fact, I'll just tell y'all for a second time. This means jealousy, right? It's mean jealousy. Emulation means jealousy. Them which are my flesh. Watch this. Now let's put the word jealousy there. If by any means I may provoke to jealousy them which are my flesh, and might say some of them. So why? So if these Gentiles are Israelites, how is he bringing Israelites to be jealous against Israelites, which all of them is of his flesh? I don't know what he's talking about. It said, by any means I may provoke to emulation, them are my flesh. So he bringing Israel against Israel to make Israel. He bringing Israel to make Israel jealous, but only one of them is his flesh. Is that what y'all getting? Oh, it's on my face. Because last time I know Paul was an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. So the Israelite was all 12 tribes. So how can, if by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh? So he gonna provoke to emulation everybody that's part of his flesh. So that can't be Israel, the Gentiles, if he making them jealous with the Gentiles. And I digress. I was going. Let's go. Let's keep going.
My flesh, meaning my brothers and my sisters. I'm gonna read that one more time. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. Paul is saying, I want to save my people. The very same thing that myself, King Marcus, King Yada, King Gideon, King Gino, Queen Tanya. We are out here to save our people. We got the message. Verse 15. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead?
So it said the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world. What shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead, which is Christ? And we're going to get into this, man. This is going to get good, right? So he's saying, so the reconciling of them, and who is the them? Is the them at the 2/3?
I can try to decipher exactly what he's saying, but he lost, and that's why I say you gotta have some pieces to get through Romans 11. It seems like so you got Paul magnifying his office to Hellenized Jews in order to save, to provoke them to jealousy. He's gonna magnify his office to Hellenized Jews, and that is gonna provoke who to jealousy if the other people already. Man, I don't know.
Yeah, it get complicated, right? It get complicated. Y'all brothers want to take a stab at it, man? What I mean, do y'all see anything that he might say that made sense, and y'all want to explain it to the audience?
I can say this. It would make better sense if he had the Northern Kingdom in there. Like, okay, he converting the Northern Kingdom to make the Southern Kingdom be jealous. And some of that, some of those leaders, some of those rulers, some of those Pharisees, Sadducees, those unbelieving folks, provoke them to jealousy that, they may be saved. You'll make it through with that. But if you don't have Northern Kingdom, it's going to be, if all you got is Israel, or all you got is Jews, it's going to be difficult to get through there. You're not going to be able to do it. You're just not going to be able to get through there and make it make sense, because you have a people that Paul is magnifying his office to provoke another people to jealousy, that they might be saved. So even the people that he's provoking to jealousy are not saved. So you saying you got unsaved folks that he's trying to convert to make unsaved folk jealous, so that the second unsaved jealous folks could be saved. That's what he's saying right now.
I guess so, brother. Let's keep going, man. It get complicated, brother. Let's keep going.
I'm going to read that one more time. For if the casting away of them be reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? Watch this next part. For if the first fruit be holy, keep these terms in mind, especially holy, holy, holy. Remember the word holy. For if the first fruits be holy, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. Okay? Holy and branches. Now we're about to take a detour. Now I want you to please go to Ezekiel chapter 36. The book of Ezekiel chapter 36. Do me a favor, go down to verse 8, please. Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 8. Now remember the terms holy and branches. Watch this. But ye, O mountains of Israel, who's the subject matter? Israel. Ye shall shoot forth your branches and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. What did that just say? The branches. Oh, wow. And not only the branches, but also the fruit as well. That's talking about Israel. That's Israel. Branches and fruit right there, right? So now, that was the branches. I want you now to please go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For those of y'all that know me, y'all know this is one of my favorites. Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. Here it is. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. But what is the fifth word in here? For thou art an holy, 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 holy people. Okay, so that was that. Now I want you to please go to Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 14 verse 2. Same book, but let's read this here. The Most High repeats himself. For thou art an holy, 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 for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. And the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. That was there. So now let's go to Exodus chapter 19. The book of Exodus chapter 19, and let's go to verse 5. The book Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. Watch this. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed. Let's stop right there. So the Father, just like we was reading Romans, what was the problem with the Israelites? What was the problem with the 2/3 of them? They were not following the law, statutes, and commandments. And what were the prophets saying at that time? Let them go.
Hey, Shalakia, man. Why you keep saying 2/3, man? Where does he get that number from?
That's his description of the people. That's his them. Is the 1/3, 2/3. Just like everybody else has Southern Kingdom, Northern Kingdom to go through this. His is 1/3, 2/3.
But yeah, that's an end time prophecy though. Like 1/3, 2/3 didn't go into captivity. All Israel went into captivity. Right? All Israel went into captivity, whether you was part of the elect or not. You know what I mean? You have righteous men in captivity. Right, but anyway, I digress.
Go. Let the Father deal with them. Let them be blind. Let them be blind. I'm going to read this one more time. Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure. Precept to Deuteronomy 14:2. Precept to Deuteronomy 7:6. A peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And the Father made it clear. He said, it's my earth. I'll do whatever I want. I'll choose whoever I want. It belongs to me. There's a damn thing that any of y'all can do about it. The Father made it clear when it came to the Israelites. He chose just them alone, nobody else. He chose Israel. Do you understand what that says? He chose Israel. There was a certain people on this planet that he chose, and you better be glad that it's your black ass. You better be glad it's your Hispanic ass. You better be glad it's your Native American ass, because the Most High chose you. Verse 6, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, again, royalty, a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation.
First of all, a kingdom of priests doesn't mean royalty. First of all, a kingdom of priests meaning that you're gonna be. That means you're gonna be a kingdom of receiving sacrifices, not sitting on the throne. You're gonna be working. A kingdom of priests means you're gonna be working. You're gonna have to be giving sacrifices, not sitting on the throne.
These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Who's going to deny that now? I guarantee you there'll be some stupid ass idiot that's going to sit and still try to refute what the scriptures actually say. Now that was just that. Okay, let's go back now. Let's go back. Romans chapter 11, verse 16. So now that we put all of that, now that you have the understanding where we got them precepts, just like the Father told us, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. So now that we have that understanding about who that is, let's go back and read Romans and let's see if it makes sense. Romans chapter 11, verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, which we covered, the lump is also holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. Wow. So when you actually study and you know the word and you go back and you look to what the prophet said, when you see what the apostles have to say, they all say the very same thing. And why does it even mention branches? Where do you think the term your family tree comes from? Right here from these scriptures. Everything about the world, they take out the scriptures and try to make it their own. But you are the original family tree. Why do you think they were hanging us from them? Verse 17. And if some of the branches be broken off, And thou, being a wild olive tree, wert grafted in among them, and with them partakest of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Why? If those branches be broken off, does it mean that that branch is no longer coming from that tree? No. The branch is still from that tree, it's just broken off. And then, as we read last week, what was going to happen to those broken branches? They was going to be incinerated. They were going to be thrown into the fire. Why? I don't understand how some people just cannot accept the absolute fact that it is only Israel. It doesn't matter.
All right, I'm gonna let him play a little more. Well, let's get a hold to this thing, man. Let's get a hold to number 16. For the first fruit be holy. The first fruit. He right, the first fruit. Let's get that first fruit. Let's get Jeremiah 2 and verse 3. Jeremiah 2 and 3. Let's see what the first fruit is. The first fruit is Jeremiah 2 and 3. And this is where it's problematic right here. It's just real problematic. But let's get it right quick. Jeremiah 2 and 3.
Go ahead. This book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 3. Israel was holiness unto the Lord, and the first fruit of his increase. All that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, said the Lord.
Evil shall come upon them, said the Lord. They that touch the Lord and touch the apple of his eye. So Israel is that first fruit, according to the text. So Israel is the first fruit, right? So let's go to right there. The lump is holy. Give me 1 Corinthians 5 through 8. 1 Corinthians 5 through 8. Because we gotta understand, all the law was hanging on Yahweh Shah. You know, the whole Passover. They're gonna get into the scripture right here, 1 Corinthians. Like, you know, that Passover and all that stuff. That was really speaking about the coming of the Messiah. But let's get that 1 Corinthians real quick. 1 Corinthians 5 through 8.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 5, starting at 5.
Okay.
To deliver such an one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Your glorifying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven is the whole lump? Purge out therefore the old leaven, that ye may be a new lump, as ye are unleavened. For even Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Therefore let us keep the feast, not with old leaven, neither with the leaven of malice and wickedness, for with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth.
See that? It said, but with unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. So that says that little leaven leavened the whole lump, talking about sin. So when it says, therefore let us keep the feast. Now, why don't we keep the feast of unleavened bread again? Paul said, let us keep the feast, not with unleavened, neither with leaven of malice and wickedness, but with uncleanness, bread of sincerity and truth. So that's what it is for that lump to be holy, right? Unto Yahweh Shah, right? Present yourself, your body a living sacrifice unto the Lord, man. So that's the lump, a clean vessel. A clean vessel, right? That's what the lump is, a clean vessel. So let's get the root be holy. Let's get Isaiah 11 and 10 and Revelation 22 and 16. So let's talk about the root being holy. So let's see what this root is. Because all this stuff matters. Right? All this stuff matters to understand that especially when we get to the next precept, that it can't be talking about Israel. When they talk about the Gentiles being grafted in, it's going to put a nail in the coffin. Go ahead. Isaiah 11 and 10, Revelation 22 and 16.
This is Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 10.
Okay.
And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, to which shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious.
Read that again.
And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, to which shall the Gentiles seek, and
So
his rest shall be glorious.
And his rest shall be glorious. So that root is talking about Yahweh Shai. Let's get that in Revelation 22 and 16. Revelation 22 and 16.
God, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 16.
Okay.
I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star.
I am the root and the offspring of David. David was the son of Jesse. All right. So that root is talking about Christ. So he said, and the branches. And this way it's going to get a little dicey, right? Because he's saying the branches is broken off, but the branches get thrown into the incinerator. I'm still trying to understand that one. But let's get into the branches. Let's get Jeremiah 11, 16 through 17. Let's see who those branches are.
This is Jeremiah chapter 11 and verse 16. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit, with the noise of a great tumult. He hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. For the Lord of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves, to provoke me to anger, in offering incense unto Baal.
Offer incense to what?
Baal.
Remember, the Most High said, he's going to Deuteronomy 32, that what he said that he going to provoke, we had provoked him, we had angered him by what? Worshiping idols. Worshiping idols. So he going to what? Provoke us to jealousy with a foolish nation. But remember right there in 17, he said Judah and the house of Israel. He said Judah and the house of Israel. It's those branches, right? So if Judah and the house of Israel are those branches, how in the world can Israel be the wild olive tree grafted in among them? I'm waiting. You got something, Brother Phoenix? I'm just saying. If Judah and Israel is the branches that was broken, how can, in the same breath, they be the wild olive tree that's grafted in? Verse 17. All right. So you're going to go to 17.
No matter where you go in these scriptures, the Father only mentions Israel of having salvation. Let's continue, though. Verse 18. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root. So, in other words, don't feel good about your brothers and sisters that are going to be killed, going to be destroyed. Love the nations that happened to, but not your brothers and sisters. This is why we have so much work to do, why we have to be out there and presenting ourselves as a sacrifice to help save our people. None of us are saved yet. We will be when that sky crack. Those of us keeping the commandments. But he's making it clear. Look, do not bang on your brothers and sisters that are not keeping it. Try to help them. If they don't want to listen, they go on about you.
Watch this. Now, he's saying this your brothers and sisters, right? And what I'm saying, it's like when we read the text, man, it's almost like it's like we definitely can't comprehend what the text is saying. Like that's that preposition. Like if you know how you like if you arguing with someone and somebody already told you something about that person, and no matter what they say, it don't matter because you got a preposition in your head. So you hear them, but it's like Charlie Brown, wah 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 wah. You really don't understand what he's talking about, but because you got a preposition. And that's how we read the text. We read the text with a pre-notion, and since we got a pre-notion, and we try to make it seem like it says something when it doesn't say it, right? So he said, boast not against the branches. But who is the branches? Israel. Israel, southern kingdom, northern kingdom is the branches. We just proved that. These are the branches. So what they're supposed to boast against themselves? Because they are the branches, right? According to Jeremiah 11, 16 through 17. They are the branches. All right? So let's keep going. I'm almost done, man. I ain't gonna watch this whole thing.
About your business. Because that is going to be a horrible, sad day when we are watching so many blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans die on that day. Y'all got to realize we are going to see that. We are going to visualize that. So many of our parents, so many of our brothers and sisters, family, friends, and all that stuff. But we're going to watch them die. Y'all better be ready for that. Verse 19. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. Verse 21. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. So in other words, get off your high horse, because something bad can happen to you too.
Well, who was the natural branches?
He read through a lot of verses and didn't break that thing down. He just kept on reading. They said, you might say to yourself, well, man, you know what? I'm glad. You know, they were broken off so I can come in. Who's saying that?
Yeah.
Who in Israel is saying, I'm glad, Israel, you're already in?
Right.
Why would anybody in Israel say, man, I'm glad you fell short? Now I'm able to get in, man. I'm glad. Like, who's saying that, man?
Hey, Salaki.
Go ahead.
Hey, that verse 20. Didn't we just go over that, man? When Christ kept telling them other nations how much faith they had.
Yeah.
And now we're looking at it saying we were broke. You know, some of the branches were broken out because of unbelief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You know, that's in the, what is that? John, is it Mark 7? When he said, you know, he have not found no such great faith in no one out of Israel. That precept. Matthew, listen, Matthew's 8 and verse.
And Shalaki too, while y'all finding that, it's you know, you might say then the branches were broken off that I might be like, this is something that was like planned, but Paul telling them, nah, well, you know, they were really broken off because of their unbelief. They weren't just necessary. It really wasn't for you.
Right.
It really wasn't for you. So don't boast against them. Like, the only reason they got broken off is because of their unbelief. It wasn't to bring you in. It was because of that unbelief. So don't boast, you know what I'm saying? But because of, you know, you got in because of that, but you didn't. It wasn't meant to be like that.
Right. And I mean, okay, this is the book of Matthew 8 and verse 9. He said, if I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and do it. When Yahushua heard it, he marveled and said to them that followed, verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. Not Israel, man. So that's the same thing he said. Because they unbelief is the reason why you get in, man. Because they unbelief. Go ahead.
I would say Salakia, I would say that was that's a punch to the gut too, man. That'll make you jealous as well. Yeah. Can you imagine walking with Yahushua, man, and he telling somebody, hey, you got more faith than some of these cats. I'd be upset too.
Yeah.
And he turned around and told him.
Turned around. That's why I was looking for the Mark. The one that Mark. That's in Luke. That's the one in Luke. Let me get the one in Luke.
He turned around and told him. He went on to talk to him and then turned around and said, man, I ain't found this kind of faith nowhere in Israel.
Shalakia, for the record, people think we're gonna get carried away, man. We know them folk gonna get that work like Rihanna.
Yeah, man.
We know that, man. We talk about slaves and handmaids and them going to captivity and clinging. It seems like everybody want the work destroyed. They gonna get that. That ain't what we say. I yield a lot.
Yeah, you just gotta, and like that's the Most High judgment, man. That's his shit. Because he said those that keeping his commandments, but also the faith. We gotta think about that. This is Luke 7 and verse 9. When Yahushua heard these things, he marveled at him and turned him about. He turned him about and put him in front of it, and put him in front of the crowd, man. It said he turned him about and said unto the people that followed him, I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel, man. He said he turned the man about, man. He made the man a spectacle, man. Yeah, that was great jealousy, man. But why was the jealousy point? To save some of them. I want to go back home to my wife. Try to see what that dude. I'm going back home to my wife.
I want my family back.
I want my family back. I want my family back, man. Go ahead.
No, you hit it on the head. I was just saying that, like, if you provoke me to jealous, saying it's a possibility he can get it. Oh yeah, I gotta do better, man. Let me tighten up my boot, man. I most definitely gotta get to work. I yield.
For real, man. Normally you got the car, let your wife open up her own door. And then as soon as you see another dude open up the door, you looking at them crazy, nigga. What you doing? Nigga, what you doing over there? You know what I mean? Man. Hey, man, you know how it is, brother. Provoke you to jealousy, brother. Provoke you to jealousy, brother. So here you go. So you better let's go back into the video. I'm almost done, man. I'm almost done. Then we'll have our final thoughts.
You got to remember, you need to make sure that you give praise and thanks to the Most High every day for tapping your shoulder, waking you up, and saying, "Come on home." He extended that to you so that you can extend it to those that are out there still, those broken branches. But guess what can happen with a broken branch? If you take a broken branch and you put it in water, guess what's going to happen? It's going to continue to grow again. But if there's no water there, if there is no washing of the water by the word, that branch is going to wither and die. It's going to get dry as hell, Sahara dry. I'm telling y'all, a lot of y'all need to be out there handing niggas out water. I'm telling you right now, because that's what you're dealing with out there. Verse 20. Well, because of unbelief, they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. So don't be thinking too much of your damn self. I wanted to read that again. Don't be thinking that you're the shit. That's what it's saying for those who are not picking up on what that's saying. Stop acting like you the shit because you were shit not that long ago before you came into the truth. You was in that very same position that they were in. So don't be trying to think all high and mighty of yourself now, like we can see all throughout Israel, where a lot of these camps and stuff like that be talking, they be trying to, you know, they wear their fancy garments and everything like that, be out there teaching on the corners, and people trying to come up and talk to them, and they so standoffish. You know, they even got security around to stop people to sit there and block like that, while people are trying to come up and talk to them. High-minded. Verse 21. For if God spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Verse 22, behold, therefore the goodness and severity of God on them which fell, severity, but toward thee goodness. If thou continue in his goodness, otherwise thou also shall be cut off. You got to make sure you continue doing what you're doing. You have to be righteous from now until the day you take your last breath. That's right. The work doesn't stop. Verse 24. No, as a matter of fact, verse 23. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in. Your God is able to graft them in again. Wait a second, again? Why is it using that word again? Because these individuals were already chosen, but they broke the commandments, and now the Father went ahead, turned his back on us, and like, all right.
Your mic muted up.
Water, brother. It says, and they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. So who is this talking about? It ain't talking about the one that was grafted in the first time. Watch this. It says, if they don't what, abide not still in unbelief. Let's go back a little farther. It's talking about the branches that was broken off. Watch this. Watch this. It's a provoked in the jealousy of the world. Where's that? It says, all right, here, verse 19. Thou wilt say then, the branches was broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they was broken off, and thou stand by faith, be not high-minded but fear. So who is the one to be grafted in again? Is the one that didn't have faith the first time. So you can't say that's 2/3. It ain't 2/3 if they can be grafted in again. Can't be 2/3, right? So when he said right here, and they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft in again. So it's talking about the first branches that was broken off. And so it's not talking about the one that was grafted in the first time. It's talking about the one that was the branches that was broken off. Watch this, 24. You're going to go 24. I'm trying to speed up a little bit.
But guess what? If they start doing the laws, statutes, and commandments, they can come back home. Verse 24. For if thou wert cut off of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, imagine that, and wert grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? That's the example that I gave earlier.
So what do y'all get from that? All right. It says 24, if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree. A good olive tree. Remember we just read that in Jeremiah. Let's get that again. Let's get that in Jeremiah 11. Watch this. Let's see what that good olive tree looks like. You got some Brother Phoenix while I get this piece up?
Yeah, that verse, he kind of read past that verse 21. It said, "If God spared not the natural branches." So the natural branches are, the natural branches that are connected to the tree, but some of those natural branches have not been spared, so they on the ground. They done been broken off. And then you go to 24. He says, "Word, for if thou wert cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these which be?" And again, if you just understand those natural branches are, Israel, it's nothing. That's it. You gotta deal with that, and then those branches that are on the ground are Israel. And then there's a wild tree. Then there's a tree that's not natural.
Right.
And you have to fill that in. But I yield. If you got a precept,
yeah, this is Jeremiah 11:16. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and a good of goodly fruits, with the noise of a great tumult. He have kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken off. So Israel was the green olive tree, fair and goodly fruits. So how is you a wild olive tree that is well, how did it go? It says, "For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree." So if you was cut out of a wild olive tree, were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree. So this is a wild olive tree grafted into a good olive tree, which the Most High said that Israel was that good olive tree. It was a good olive tree. So how can they be the good olive tree and the wild olive tree all together? Now I looked up that word wild olive tree. It's only two times it's mentioned, in both of them in the Greek, in Romans, but both of them in Romans 11. It's not nowhere else in the text. The wild olive tree. See what I'm saying? So I looked at wild olive tree. I looked up in the blue letter. I couldn't find it. It's only written 2 times in the text, and both of them in Romans 11. Right. So almost there. I wanna kind of get to the.
If you see the branch that's on the floor, you take it, put it in water, take that branch right there, put it in water, and then you're going to see that it's going to continue to grow. But what's going to happen from there? Guess what has to happen? It has to be put back in the ground. And then when you put it back in the ground, it starts to develop roots, and the roots connect right back to the original tree. Verse 25. Please, family, please pay attention to this. "For I would not, brethren," talk about the flesh. "For I would not, brethren, that ye should be ignorant of this mystery, lest ye should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in." Did you understand that? There's still going to be people that's going to be blind. But which ones are you going to help to see? Which ones are you going to be able to take the cloth, wipe their eyes, and help them to see? Which one are you going to give water to? Your brothers and sisters. Brethren, 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 just like he said right here. Your brethren. Verse 26. And so.
Okay. So we know 26, and so all Israel should be saved. That's going into Isaiah 59 and 20. But I want to deal with a couple of points, right? I want to deal with the point of this whole grafting in, right? And the grafting in part is it's no different than what the Most High did before, right? When we came out of Egypt, let's get that real quick. Let's get Exodus 12, 35 through 38. right? You know, that's grafting in, right? And it's the same thing when you ask them what do proselyte mean. It means conversion. When other nations convert, you know, in Hasmonean dynasty, you've seen Edomites convert to be Jews. Right? That's not a new concept, right? This grafting in is not a new concept. People taking on the custom of Israel. That is not a new concept. So let's get into Exodus 12, 35 to 38.
This is Exodus chapter 12, verse 35. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent unto them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle.
So when we came out of Egypt, it was a what? A mixed multitude came out with it. Right? A mixed multitude came out. We came out of Egypt, it was a mixed multitude, right? And you see this all through the text that when we was in the land, you know, brothers always arguing about that Deuteronomy 23 and 7, thou shalt not abhor Edomite. All right. So how can you not abhor Edomite if he wasn't there? All right. How can you not abhor the Egyptian if he wasn't in your land? We went to Israel the first time, did we not have nations in our land? The first promised land, was it not land of milk and honey? All right. So that's one thing, right? So we had a mixed multitude. Let's go to Esther real quick. Esther 8 and 17.
What was that again?
Esther 8 and 17.
It's the book of Esther, chapter 8, and verse 17.
Yeah.
And in every province and in every city, whethersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews.
They became what?
Jews.
Uh-huh.
For the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
So for the fear of the Jews fell upon them, and you see these people becoming Jews. That's a conversion. That is a conversion, right? But let me show you something. Give you that in the edition of Esther 1, 10 through 11, right? That was a conversion. We're not saying that that these Gentiles will be equal to Israel, right? The Most High chose Israel. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But we gotta understand that these Gentiles gonna have a seat, man. So let's get that in real quick. The edition of Esther and Apocrypha, chapter 1, 10 through 11.
Can you get that mic, Mom? Pop it downstairs. I'm gonna go get it.
What was that again?
Edition of Esther, chapter 1, 10 through 11.
The Esther 1,
10
through 11.
The edition of Esther.
Oh.
And the Apocrypha.
It's the editions of Esther chapter.
It's the first verse. Chapter 1, right. Chapter 1, 10 through 11.
Chapter 1, verse 10.
Okay.
Therefore, have he made two lots, one for the people of God and the other for all the Gentiles. And these two lots came at the hour and time and date of judgment before God among all nations. So God remembered his.
Go ahead. Keep going.
So God remembered his people and justified his inheritance. Therefore, those days shall be unto them in the month of darkness, the 14th and 15th day of the same month, with the assembly of joy and with gladness before God, according to the generations forever among his people.
Among his people, man. So it's two lots, man. It's one for Israel and it's one for the Gentiles, man. Right? And he gonna remember that in the day of judgment. So we gotta understand. We're not saying that this that the Gentiles, the Most High ever said that the Gentile was holy and special to the Most High. There ain't no doubt about that. And the scholars will agree with that, right? But it is a place for the Gentiles, right? So let's go to Jeremiah 12 and 14 through 16 through 17. Jeremiah 12, 14 through 17. And remember, he said that he got 7,000 men who have not bowed a knee to Baal. So let's get that in Jeremiah 12, 14 through 17.
This is Jeremiah chapter 12 and verse 14. And I will dash them one, Shalachah 14. You said 12, 14 through 17, correct?
Right, kind of.
Thus saith the Lord against all mine evil neighbors that touch the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit. Behold, I will pluck them out of their land, and pluck out the house of Judah from among them. And it shall come to pass after that I have plucked them out, I will return and have compassion on them, and will bring them again, every man to his heritage, and every man to his land. And it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people, to swear by my name, the Lord liveth, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then shall they be built in the midst of my people.
They should be built where?
In the midst of my people.
See, this is what I'm saying. And that's, remember, he said he had 7,000 men who have not bowed their knee to Baal. Right? But if these nations who taught God's people to bow down to Baal, if they follow the ways of the Most High, he said, then would I build them in the midst of my people. The same thing Paul was doing when he was grafting them in. Hey, man, I yield, man. There's some more, man, but it's getting late. Y'all brothers got anything before we any closing remarks, man?
Man, good lesson. And this ain't no bashing or nothing like that, man. Just we trying to just educate our people on these certain stances and for us to know, man, we've been in this thing a good minute. Like, we've taught it, we've come from that, If anyone's trying to grab this and have a dialogue, man, we definitely open for a dialogue on it. And I think, brother, if the brother just needs to slow down with the text, man. Slow down with the text. Drop all the pre-notions and just read the text, man. Just start with, especially with this topic, man. You need to start about Romans 7 and just slowly read it, man. Just slowly read it and get understanding, and try to get understanding of every line, and then and then try to make a judgment on it, and maybe you can see something. So I just pray the brother. I pray this thing gets is edifying, and that the brother that it reaches the brother, and that he can deal with somebody. He can see some of the faults or some of the holes, and in seeing the holes, maybe he can go back and revise the lesson, so that some of those holes can be filled. Good lesson, huh?
Y'all brother got anything to say? Closing remarks?
Hey, Salakia. At the end of the day, Israel first and foremost, Can't nobody jump the line on that, man. You know, we got to work on ourselves first and foremost. You know, work on getting our folk the kingdom, man. But we forget that Christ gonna knock on our door first, man. He gonna start with us, then he gonna turn around and say, "Y'all want some too?" You know what I mean? You know, get down and lay down on that. But yeah, I yield.
You got something, Brother Dion?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. I'm let me back on what the brother said, man. At the end of the day, man, it's just about correction. You know what I mean? You know, we commanded to love one another, but we gotta correct certain doctrine, right? We gotta correct certain doctrine, and you know, man, look. At the end of the day, it's all about letting the Most High be true. You know what I mean? You know, we came from, like I said earlier in my disclaimer, that you know I came from HOI. You know what I mean? HOI was the first camp I was with, and you know, so I was taught salvation was only for Israel. And you know, we built CSI. Then you know, Brother Phineas, he did the Prince of Power. You know, and so we was taught that salvation was only for Israel. You know, what they call the One West Israelism, right? We was taught that, right? And so you know, as the Most High kept something with our hearts, and we keep reading the text and keep reading it, we realized that what we was taught was incorrect. And the scripture said that servants who knew to do the Lord's will and did not do it should be whooped with many stripes. And I'm not trying to get no slashes on my back. Right? I'm not trying to get none of that from the. I'm thinking, you know, outside gonna be like no other. Not gonna be like no other, man. I'm not trying to get those lashes, man. So it's all love, man. We wish the brother, man, he can like the brother said, slow down the text and get some understanding. Because our thoughts and our prayers is that Israel be saved. And man, we only got one day. Life is done. You know, we only got one day, man. Life is made out of days, and don't take that day wasting on negative energy, man. You know, love somebody, man. Love your brothers and sisters, man. And man, we just need to have some dialogues in Israel, man, and not no debates, not no fights, not no pushing and shoving. Because at the end of the day, we all trying to get the kingdom. So with that,
That's right,
man. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah Baraka Thumb. And brothers, I'm gonna call y'all. Call me right quick. I wanna discuss tomorrow. Y'all call me right quick so we can discuss tomorrow, brothers. All right, shalom.
all right, shalom.